But first, when someone is charged with a crime but cannot afford an attorney, the court is required to provide one. In most cases, that person is a so-called public defender. But what if that public defender already has too many clients to serve as competent representation? That's a situation playing out in many states, including Missouri, where public defenders have started refusing cases, throwing a wrench into the machinery of the criminal justice system. John Yang has this story, produced by Frank Carlson and with support from the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, and is part of our continuing coverage of broken justice.
In December, Rayshad Ashton was arrested in Platte County, Missouri, charged with resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. Unable to make bond, he'd already spent 4 months in jail when his public defender told him that his caseload was so heavy he wouldn't have time to take his case to trial for another 6 months.
Like, from 6 months from now, I could have totally repaired all the damage that's been done from the 4 months that I've already been. You know, this is my life right here.
Ashton spoke to us from jail.
We shouldn't even be here. I mean, there's a room full of 40 guys right now who haven't been sentenced. They're all just waiting on the next thing to happen. It's just a waiting game. I'm just sitting here waiting.
The Sixth Amendment of the Constitution guarantees every American facing trial the right to a lawyer, even if they cannot afford one. The Supreme Court enshrined that right into law with its landmark 1963 ruling in the case Gideon versus Wainwright. One way society meets that responsibility is with public defenders. But across the country, that system is being stretched to the breaking point, underfunded and overworked.
We've created a counterfeit defense, and it's only the illusion of fairness.
The Public Defender's Office says it's at a tipping point and the outlook is not good.
We want the state to give them public defenders or to give money to appoint lawyers who can represent them in the way that the Constitution demands.
We are dealing with a crisis.
Missouri may well be ground zero, the state's public defender system widely seen as nearly broken. The state ranks 49th in per capita spending on indigent defense. Last year, its 320 public defenders handled 80,000 cases, on average more than 240 cases each. Listen to these lawyers in the public defender's office in Jackson County, the state's biggest district, which includes Kansas City.
Most days it's overwhelming.
Over the next 6 weeks, I have some very, very serious trials.
They deserve a lot more attention than I give them.
Mostly all the time.
I think I have 6 murder cases right now.
It's too many for me to be prepared for.
Pretty much if you ask any lawyer in this office, they'd say the same thing.
Do you feel you're able to give them all the time they deserve?
I don't know if this is a long answer that you're asking for here. No, is the simple answer.
Michael Barrett is head of Missouri's public defender system.
Defendants routinely sit in jail for weeks just before they meet their attorney. And we tell them that we are very eager to work on your case, but it's going to be a while because there's an awful lot of people in front of you.
In 2016, Barrett convinced the Republican-controlled legislature to spend more money for his office. And when then-Governor Jay Nixon, a Democrat, slashed that increase, Barrett took a bold step.
I wanted to bring attention to this matter because so many people are being incarcerated without competent representation. But before I appointed a private lawyer who didn't cause this problem, I thought I'd start with the one person with a law license in the state who could do something to fix it.
A bitter budget battle in Missouri going to a new level last week.
Missouri Governor Jay Nixon has just been recruited to be a state public defender.
And Missouri's lead public defender has ordered Missouri Governor Jay Nixon to represent a poor defendant in court later this month.
The court said Barrett didn't have the power to do that, but he had made his point. Now the courts are considering a $20 million class action suit the American Civil Liberties Union filed against the state. The 5 plaintiffs, all represented in criminal court by public defenders, say their constitutional rights were violated by long delays. Barrett acknowledges that when defenders are handling as many as 200 cases at a time, there's no way they can fulfill their professional and ethical duties to their clients.
You have to go visit with your client. You have to look at the charges that your client faces. You have to investigate the case. You have to meet with witnesses. You have to talk to the police officer. You have to file motions. You have to receive the evidence that the prosecution has and then discuss the evidence with your client. To think that you can do each one of those steps in 150 cases is absolutely ridiculous.
As a result, defendants like Rayshad Ashton often end up pleading guilty to crimes they say they didn't commit just to get out of jail. It's called pleading to daylight.
I was in jail 4 months already, and by the time they came with the deal that was SIS probation, I just took it, pretty much knowing I was not guilty of the charges that were being brought about.
After resolving those charges with his probation plea, Ashton remains detained, waiting for his public defender to help him address other charges.
The issue of overworked public defenders in Missouri has been building for years. Now it's come to a head. Last summer, the Missouri Supreme Court sent shockwaves through the system by sanctioning a public defender for neglecting clients.
David Wiegert has been a public defender in Jackson County for 6 years.
I thought that this whole thing is a ticking time bomb for all of us. It is probably due to our clients' inexperience with the system that they don't know how to file proper bar complaints against us. That allows us to keep going with the system in which we don't give them proper service. But if they were ever made aware of the ways in which they can file formal ethical complaints against us, I think that the gates are open at that point, and I think we drop like flies.
On the day we visited, 16-year defender Laura O'Sullivan was heading to court to tell a judge that, given her workload and ethical responsibilities, she couldn't take on another client.
What's the judge's reaction? How do they react to that?
Most of the time they're denying our request to decline the cases. I think they don't know what to do.
That's because judges themselves are graded on how quickly they move cases, putting public defenders and sitting judges at odds.
Some judges and prosecutors say the problem with Missouri public defenders' offices isn't too little money or too few people. They say it's too much mismanagement.
You have to do more with less.
Dwight Scroggins served as a public defender before becoming the prosecuting attorney in Buchanan County, north of Kansas City, 28 years ago. He puts the blame for delays on the defenders themselves.
The public defender's thinking is limited to, we have a lot of cases, we need more money, we need more attorneys. And guess what? They've gotten, over the years, more money and more attorneys, and what are they saying? You have to start looking somewhere along the line at efficiencies.
While it's true that since 1994, funding for the State Public Defender's Office has continued to grow, so has the number of cases the office handles. Which leads to the question, how many cases are too many?
Missouri is the epicenter of this whole movement to end this abandonment of the rule of law.
Stephen Hanlon is a longtime pro bono attorney who serves as counsel to the National Association for Public Defense. Its members include 16,000 public defenders. By auditing the work of both public and private defense attorneys in Missouri and 3 other states, he's developed a standard for how many hours should be spent on a case. The results are striking.
They're handling 3 to 5 times as many cases as they can handle competently. If an obstetrician has 3 to 5 times as many cases as he or she can handle competently, terrible things happen. If a public defender with people's liberty at stake has 3 to 5 times as many cases as he or she can handle competently, terrible things will happen.
He hopes his data will eventually lead to reforms in what he sees as the systematic, unconstitutional, and racist underfunding of indigent defense across the nation.
You cannot do mass incarceration unless the whole justice system rolls over and plays dead.
In the meantime, defendants like Rayshad Ashton wait for their day in court.
We're your sons, and we are your cousins, and then there's a whole bunch of pods over there that are your daughters and moms. I don't understand how this is continuing to be the case, like over and over again.
An all too common refrain for those who must rely on public defenders to represent them in court. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang in Kansas City.